What's up everybody, I'm Collister. Welcome to today's how-to video on how to set up your drum set for low volume practice. Today's video is going to be full of valuable information that's going to help you change over your kit, and also it's going to feature some tools that I use that help me with time efficiency and just getting this job done much easier and a lot quicker. Okay, so first of all, there's a few things that I like to use that really help. If you have just cleaned your drums and your hardware, as far as getting everything set back up, this works well for cymbals too. Something that's almost absolutely invaluable is just a cheap pair of gloves. And so you want to have these on so that you're not messing up your kit, getting fingerprints all over it and causing corrosion. Another tool that I really like to use in two pieces here is this small drill from Ryobi. It really helps with the process of changing these drum heads out very quickly and efficiently. The other one is this drill bit drum key from DW, and of course just a regular drum key. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do to get my gloves on and go ahead and unpack all the drums, starting with my bass drum. Alright, let's get the rest of these unpacked and move on quickly here. Great, so now that I got everything out of the way, I'm going to start with the absolute core of the kit, and that's always going to be your bass drum. So we're going to start here. Now what I do is, I've already got all my heads ready to go. I am using Remo Silent Stroke drum heads for my bass drum, and this is a really important piece of information that helps you with your sound. I use this patch. You can get them from Remo, you can get them from Evans. If you have a single kick, they make those. If you have a double kick pedal, then they make the larger version to fit both beaters on the head. So that's the first thing that really helps you get more attack out of your kick drum. Okay, next step, I'm going to use my drill and DW drill bit drum key, and I'm just going to let the tension off a little bit. So take a starting point and then go across. It's a little bit loosened. Next to it, across, next to it, across, next to it, across, and by the time you get next to it, you're starting over again. Once the tension is off of these, then you can go ahead and zip them all the way out. Use the same pattern. Okay, and once you have got all of the tension rods loose from the lugs, carefully pull the hoop off and set it aside. Okay, so once we pull that off, you want to make sure that everything is always good with your bearing edge. And the bearing edge is this edge right here that all of your drum heads sit on each drum you have. If this gets messed up, you're going to have an issue with your drum head sitting right and it not sounding right. Be very careful with this bearing edge. Always wipe it down to get any kind of debris off of it. Inside I have just a regular pillow. And I also am using some older memory foam that I didn't need anymore. So I stuffed the bass drum with this, and that is my next tip for getting a great sound out of your silenced kick drum, is fill it up with a good amount of this foam, and the pillow combination works great for me. You'll hear it when I play here later. All right, so once you get your foam in, you want to get your Silent Stroke head back on. Make sure you seat it on the bearing edge and line it up so it's straight, and then carefully put your hoop back on. Okay, so once I get everything started again, just be very careful not to get these tension rods cross-threaded inside of this lug. You want to get them started straight. You don't want to just kind of put it on there and then run it down with a drill. You strip it out, you're going to be replacing drum hardware, and that's not going to be fun or really that cost effective. Once they are in, and I know they're started well, then I'm going to go ahead and pick my starting point again and bring these down close, not all the way. Once that is done, then I'm going to go ahead and pick a starting point again, get my drum key, and I'm just going to bring this snug. Now this process is the same process I use for changing over the acoustic heads. And you're just bringing it down until the drum key just stops turning with a little bit of pressure on it. That's bringing it snug. Now on my kick drum, I like to leave this pretty loose. These Silent Stroke heads tend to be a little bouncier, very comparable to electronic kits like Roland kits that have the mesh heads on them. They're almost exactly the same. And I don't want a whole lot of bounce coming out of my drums because we know acoustic drums generally don't have tons and tons of bounce coming off the head or rebound unless it's the snare drum, because that's the way acoustic heads are, and I want to achieve that same feel. Once that's done, obviously I'm going to get the legs kicked out on this bass drum, and that will be the foundation of my kit. So that's the first part I'm always going to set up right here. Make sure that those are tight, but don't ever over tighten them. That's where you end up with stripped out parts again on your drum set. Okay, once that's done, I like to go ahead and get hardware up for my two rack toms. I'm going to go ahead and grab my 10-inch tom here and get to work on that. Okay, so you're going to start one place, you're going to loosen a little bit, cross from it, next to it, cross from it, next to it, across from it. Once that's done, zip it off. Pull the hoop off. Okay, once that's done, I'm going to grab my Silent Stroke head, seat it on. Okay, and once you're sure that they're all started okay, then you're fine to go ahead and zip these down. And that is it. So, as you can see, this setup with the drill and the DW drill bit drum key really saves a lot of time. You see how quick it is, and I used to have to turn these each with a drum key, and it took me a lot of time to back these off and put them back down. Now it's the same thing we did on the kick drum, alright? You're going to hear this be a little bit loose, but it has a good sound, and all you're really hearing is the resonant side. I like to keep these heads as loose as possible on here without having the tension rods be loose. That's pretty much standard for me. When I get on a drum set with the acoustic heads, I want to try and emulate that as much as I can. Okay, so once that's done, get it up on the hardware, and that's it. I'm going to repeat the same process for 12-inch tom, 14-inch tom, and 16-inch tom, and you're going to see me over time-lapse video put this together the rest of the way. And I have my snare drum, all the hardware is going to go up, and I will see you guys soon. Another quick tip is when I'm pulling the hoops off, I try and set them down in the same way they came off the drum, because it's so easy with these mounts here on the back where it actually mounts to the hardware to get that turned. And next thing you know, especially if you're a stickler for lining up this logo, some drummers are, some drummers aren't, then in that case, you really want to put it back on the same way that it came off, and quickly and efficiently, so you want to do that. Snare stand setup. I always have the 3 legs, one of them will always be facing me. For my double bass, this keeps, in other pedals, it keeps basically the legs out of the way. I really don't like it when the legs are like this. For one, the snare can be a little tippy back towards you, which that's exactly where you're hitting it, is on that back side of the rim. The other thing is, your feet, of course, tend to hit. And we got one more drum to change over, and that's going to be the snare. For the snare drum, I like to actually put it in the stand, tighten it down, and I like to change out the head this way. It's a lot easier. A lot of times I will actually very carefully break it free this way, first with the drum key, because there's more tension on my snare than my other drums. Alright, so for my snare drum, I still like to keep this one pretty loose too. I might tighten it down a little bit. I get a really good snap out of this snare. I'm using a little bit of dampening. I use Pure Sound snares on the bottom and an Evans 300 snare side drum head. I also use these little Evans dampeners here. You can see them. And I'm pretty happy with that. It feels good. Still do, the bouncing and ghosting. Alright, so I got all the drum heads changed over to the Remo Silent Strokes. And now I'm going to finish constructing the kit, including all the hardware, putting the low volume cymbals back. Another tip, I always make sure my beaters are flat. I also like to use the plastic side of the beater. These are DW 5000s. And that plastic side, you'll hear it when I play. Gives it really good attack. Make sure everything on the pedal is tight that needs to be. Alright, it's time to get all the low volume cymbals back on. After I get all the final adjustments made and I got everything kind of situated, this kit is all silenced and ready to play. Alright, well there you have it guys. Thanks for spending your afternoon with me to get this whole kit changed over, and I certainly hope that this helps all of you in changing over your kit, giving you some options for low volume practice But this does work very well for playing, and it does work really well for teaching, by the way, too. For all you drum teachers out there, this is highly recommended as well. Remo Silent Stroke drum heads, Zildjian L80 low volume cymbals. Thanks for watching, and please remember to hit that thumbs up button if you liked the video, if it was helpful, so that I can provide future how-to videos for you all. And please, as always, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I appreciate it.
Please subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button. Don't forget to tap that notification bell so that you get notified about every new video that I upload every week.
I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.